स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic I have chosen from the Gospel. Constant Japa leads to God realization. This is the easiest path one can ever think of in this age. There can never be easier than this. This discipline can be practiced by anyone, whether he is learned or not. Only the spiritual seeker must have strong aspiration to realize the truth. Then he will be able to practice discipline devotedly. Sri Ramakrishna said, devotion as described on earth is suited to the Kali Yuga. It means to chant constantly the name and glories of God. That is the significance of our offering daily bhajans in the chapel. It has got tremendous significance. The spiritual aspirants should realize it and should not miss attending the bhajans, attending the arati, participating in the bhajan. They are one of the spiritual disciplines. By all methods, one must try to purify the heart. One must try to purify the mind. One must be able to get rid of worldliness. So, Sri Ramakrishna is telling that one should constantly chant the name and glories of God. In another place, Swamiji said, Sri Ramakrishna said, the constant company of holy men is necessary. The holy man introduces one to God. Again, Sri Ramakrishna tells, from constantly meditating on Krishna, Radhika saw everything as Krishna. Moreover, she even felt that she herself had become Krishna. If a piece of lead is kept in a lake of mercury a long time, it turns into mercury. The cockroach becomes motionless by constantly meditating on the kumira worm. It loses the power to move. At last it is transformed into a kumira. Similarly, by constantly meditating on God, the bhakta loses his ego. He realizes that God is he and he is God. When the cockroach becomes the kumira, everything is achieved. Instantly, one obtains liberation. Again, Sri Ramakrishna says, as long as God retains the ego in a man, he should establish a definite relationship with God, calling on him as master, mother, friend, or the like. One who constantly thinks of God can know his real nature. He alone knows that God reveals himself to seekers in various forms and aspects. God reveals himself in the form which his devotee loves most. His love for that devotee knows no bounds. It is written in the Puranas that God assumed the form of Rama for his heroic devotee Hanuman. These are all words of Sri Ramakrishna. So how Sri Ramakrishna is emphasizing to pay attention to constantly doing japa, constantly remembering the name of God. God is the supreme truth. Chanting his name is a supreme path to realize him. God and his name are as inseparable as milk and its whiteness, or as fire and its heat. Milk is a substance, whiteness its qualification. So also are fire and its heat. God is the supreme substance, the one eternal substance. His name is the qualification that leads to his realization. This exhibited world is one made up of innumerable names and forms, all fleeting in character. The world is an exhibition of ever-changing names and forms, infinite forms, infinite names. Rishis of supreme knowledge have compared them to the bubbles of water. All lives are whirling through endless rounds of births and deaths. Craving for the fleeting pleasures of this mundane existence binds all living beings to this exhibited world. Ignorance makes all minds seek earthly pleasures, which end up in some sorrow and suffering. Deliverance from the rounds of births and deaths alone can give supreme joy. Detachment from worldly pleasures, knowing their transitoriness, alone will make one a fit instrument for supreme knowledge and for realization. God is supreme knowledge and realization. This exhibited world is God's Leela. Leela Kshetra, Sri Ramakrishna used to say. This world is Leela Kshetra, playground of God. He, by the power of his Yoga Maya, sports in this world of names and forms. He himself has assumed these names and forms, and this is his play. So, living in this world of names and forms, the seeker, seeking deliverance from the sorrows of life, attains lasting happiness by chanting repeatedly God's name. God alone can bless the human soul with supreme happiness. Repetition of God's name purifies the mind and makes it a fit instrument for realizing the goal of supreme bliss. The importance of name is supreme. God resides in the inner hearts of all beings. By calling Him incessantly by His sweet names, the Lord of our being, the soul of our soul, is awakened, and the devotee is blessed with His vision. God reveals Himself to those who chant His names incessantly and with heartfelt devotion. By the repetition of the Lord's names, the mind of the devotee is cleansed of all impurities in the form of negative qualities. The mind becomes a sanctuary of all positive qualities as it develops much devotion for the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord becomes all in all for the devotee, the be-all and end-all of his life, the core of his inner being, the goal of his life, the very joy of his life. All his sorrow, born out of his mundane existence, melts away as he repeats the sweet name of the Lord of his heart. The burdens of his life are removed. His heart becomes softened, and in it his Lord reigns supreme. He overcomes all the sorrows of life as he enjoys repeating the Lord's names. So with this objective in our culture, we always used to name the children by God's names. But that is slowly going away. People put all sorts of names, meaningless names. Meaningless and childish and silly names. Silly, totally silly. So, naturally, that shows people are becoming more and more worldly minded, more and more cheated, deceived by the Yoga Maya. By the time they realize it is too late, they will not be able to do anything. So, name is very important. That's what Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel. Somehow we must be able to repeat God's name for whatever reason. That's why they used to call their children, grandchildren, all by the names of gods. If he is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, all the children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, they're all named after the names, various names of Lord Vishnu himself. If a person is a devotee of Shiva, the whole family, children, they're all named after Shiva's different names. It has got great spiritual value. So, every step is important. Every step must be taken care of. As I said, before starting spiritual life, your aspiration must be very strong. Very strong. Then only you'll be able to go forward in spiritual path. The path of Nama does not prescribe any special qualification for one who repeats the Nama. Nama means name. An ignorant man is as well qualified to repeat his name, even without knowing the divine blessedness which it brings to him. So, one equipped with the knowledge of all the Shastras and Sutras. This is the special advantage of Nam Japa. A man with all negative qualities becomes endowed with positive qualities by by Nama Japa. Our scriptures are famous for their touching stories of evil-minded persons becoming pure and noble-hearted by repeating God's name. The story of Ajamil in Srimad Bhagavat is a thrilling example. More thrilling is the story of Valmiki, the author of Sri Ramayana, one of the eternal fame as the epic poet. A robber, a murderer at first, he became the sage Valmiki. How? By doing Ram Japa for a very long period of his life. Freed from all evil instincts and endowed with divine knowledge and divine love, Sri Valmiki composed the epic of Ramayana of eternal fame. Bhakti for the lotus feet of the Lord is inculcated in the heart of the man who repeats God's name. There is no limit to the pure love thus developed in the devotee's mind. The love exceeds all limit and is extended towards all beings. A real devotee of the Lord cannot view differently different beings. Since God resides in the inner temple of all living beings, a devotee loves all beings. There is no hatred in his mind, even for those who offend him by words or actions. All sattvic qualities develop in him by virtue of his constant Nama Japa. The Lord blesses this devotee who enjoys his name and whose only aim in life is love for his lotus feet, accompanied by supreme knowledge. Thus we see that knowledge seeks a devotee who seeks God's love. The power of Nama Japa is so high and supreme that a devotee does not crave even for moksha so long as God's name is on his lips. Thus knowledge and liberation seek a devotee instead of the devotee seeking them. The power of Nama is unlimited and is unimaginable. Actually, a devotee does not bother himself to know the power of Nama, so long as he can enjoy the repeating of his name. As he chants his name incessantly, his heart becomes filled with love for all beings. His heart becomes the abode of all knowledge and bliss. There is nothing more for him to crave for or achieve. Japa Yajna takes him to the goal of life. In this Kali Yuga, beings depend more on food for their existence than in the previous yugas. Annagata prana. In modern times, we are all depending on food. Much of their time is spent in seeking their livelihood for their existence. They are inordinately attached to the pleasures of life without knowing their fleeting character. So, the path of meditation is not suited to the Kali Yuga seeker of truth. The path of Nama, which does not prescribe any hard and fast rule regarding qualification, is more suited to the majority of seekers. Sri Krishna extols the importance of Nam Jap in the Gita. Ajnanam Japa Yajñosmi, Lord Krishna says. It can be practiced by all seekers, anybody, everybody. By the grace of God, the devotee attains to supreme blessedness. The goddess of knowledge seeks such a devotee. Nama Japa is a preliminary stage of Bhakti Marga. By incessantly chanting divine names, firstly, the positive qualities lying asleep in the inner mind of the devotee are awakened. His heart expands in love as he continues repeating the name of his Ishtadevata. With a heart mad with love for his Lord, he seeks him. The pleasures of life have no attraction for him. From this bhava stage, the devotee's mind transcends all limitations and attains to the mahabhava stage of absolute and supreme love for his Lord. Always enjoying the nectar of love for his Lord, his mind becomes sublime and free from all mundane thoughts. This mahabhava bhakti, attained through the high devotional practice of nama japa, is the most difficult and the rarest bhava of love to be achieved. Srimad Bhagavat points to the bhakti bhava of the gopis as an example of this mahabhava bhakti. The mahabhava is indescribable and is beyond the limits of mind and words. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well as Sri Ramakrishna enjoyed this mahabhava. Nam Japa thus finally endows one which is intoxicating ecstatic love for God. Nam Japa takes the devotee's mind through the stages of bhava and mahabhava and ends in direct realization or swarupa prakasha. The Lord reveals his swarupa to his chosen devotee, and the devotee enjoys swarupa prakasha, the direct realization of the chosen deity. Thus the Lord, or Nami, reveals himself finally to one who chants his Nama with devotion. So Nama easily takes one to Nami. Nami and Nama are inseparable, like milk and its whiteness. Through the stages of Bhava, Mahabhava and Swarupa Prakasha, the Nama chanter becomes one with the Nami. Nam Japa is the first and foremost step in the bhakti path. Nam Japa is the easiest of all paths. Kali Yuga is predominantly a karma yuga. In the busy moments of life, the seeker of God can easily do japa along with the performance of his duties. This process of japa, practiced with steady application, awakens bhakti bhava in an individual in the very process of his carrying out the duties of his life. He becomes selfless and does virtuous deeds. He becomes indifferent to the transitory pleasures of life, knowing their hollowness. Namajapa removes the darkness of ignorance and kindles the light of divine love in the devotee's mind. For him, Maya's power, the thick screen concealing God awareness, becomes transparent, and he can see through Maya's play the ever-shining divine glow of his Lord. Nama cuts the rope of materialism and frees the mind to enjoy the love and bliss of God. Thus freed from the bonds of earthly life, the soul sports in the ocean of divine bliss. By the practice of constant japa, the mind becomes one with the Nama, and there remains not a single minute in which the mind stops this japa. By this practice, the inner mind becomes ever alert and is able to identify itself always with Nama, and the japa continues of its own accord, even without conscious effort on the part of the devotee. Thus the practice becomes an effortless one, and the devotee enjoys the bliss of sahaja japa, that is doing japa automatically along with the very breathing. Japa goes on with each heartbeat. Arjuna is said to have attained to this state of sahaja japa. In such a state, even in sleep, japa continues without the seeker's knowledge. The mind remains indrawn and does the sahaja japa. God's supreme love can be enjoyed only by the sublimated inner mind. Shri Narad and Shri Hanuman had this prema darshan, attainment of supreme love, by virtue of constant nama japa. Shri Bhagavan told Sri Narad, "O Narad, I don't reside either in Vaikuntha or in the hearts of the yogis. I reside where my devotees sing my names." By doing constant japa, one crosses the ocean of life as easily as one crosses the water collected in the footprint of a calf. Sri Hanuman crossed the ocean in one leap to Lanka with Ram Nam on his lips, whereas Sri Ramachandra himself had to bridge over the ocean to reach Lanka. Such is the power of Nama. Sound is the quality of the sky or Akasha. Japa produces divine sounds which purify the very atmosphere. If you have a good bhajan, the whole place becomes serene. The mind becomes serene. Everything looks serene. It rejuvenates all objects, sentient and insentient. It sublimates all lives and beings. As one does repeated japa, all the cells of one's body get sublimated. All darkness is removed, and the individual becomes aware of his self-luminous soul. There is no limit to the divine power of Nama. All sweet and melodious sounds are produced by japa. There are different planes, gross as well as subtle ones, in Nadopasana. There are 3 varieties: Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikari. 4. There are 4 varieties. They are the gross Nada planes. Birds and animals revel in Vaikari notes of Nada. Human beings revel in Madhyama. Different notes of sweet Nadas are produced by the singer as he sings God's name. Different notes of sweet and subtle Nadas are enshrined in Samaveda. As the indrawn and concentrated mind enjoys the bliss of continuous japa, it travels through the subtle planes of Nada, Bindu, and Kala of Nadopasana. The entire world is filled with the dinning sounds of tumultuous life, which mar the mental equilibrium of an individual soul. Amidst the uproar of busy worldly life, a seeker of God, through the one-pointed, God-intoxicated mind, seeks Him by His sweet names. With aroused noble instincts, he, by the practice of japa, enjoys finer and sweeter notes of subtle nada. The Mother Earth herself, in and amidst the uproar of tumultuous Vaikari sounds, enjoys the divine symphony of inner music. As the indrawn mind travels through the subtler planes of nada, sweet and thrilling music as that of veena or flute can be heard by the seeker from the inner recesses of his heart. It is affirmed by sincere seekers of divine nada that this is indeed true experience and no fancy. The divine flute player, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, reigns supreme in our Chitta Vrindavan, playing on his flute the sweet musical notes of divine love. The eternal flute player, the supreme master of divine nada, always plays the Kleem, that is the seed mantra of all the nadas, the root of all nadas. Krishna plays this on his flute. He sends a thrill of ecstatic love into the hearts of all living beings through the sweet notes of Kleem nada. The entire nature, with all sentient and insentient beings, becomes surcharged with the divine instinct of love for the Lord of all beings. The gopis, says the Bhagavat, drunk with the nectar of divine love, on hearing the music of Krishna's flute, ran up to him. Discarding everything else, they sought him. The divine flute player, the Nada Swarupa Bhagavan Venugopal, residing in the hearts of all beings, eternally plays on his flute. Actually, it is the sublimated inner mind that becomes the Murali of Lord Muralidhar. Murali means flute. Muralidhara means Krishna. Playing the divine notes of love. The soul drinks deep the music of divine love. May he, the Lord residing in our Chitta Vrindavan, the divine flute player, sing the glory of his sweet name to us and make us drink the sweet nectar of his divine love. So, constant singing glories of God, constantly repeating the divine name, definitely, assuredly leads one to God realization. You can see Sri Ramakrishna's life and teachings. Every day Sri Ramakrishna would sing one or two bhajans, morning and evening. When anybody comes, if Sri Ramakrishna comes to know that person was a singer, he would ask him to offer one song. When Swami Vivekananda first met Sri Ramakrishna, he asked him to sing a song. So, there is tremendous meaning. Everything is provided by God to us. To choose what is really very good for us. To choose what is really real for us. Not to be deceived by the glamour of the ever-changing world. Well, we must know the concept clearly. Then we must be sincere enough to do practices. And we should not stir, we should not shake up while doing practice. We should not yield to any kind of weakness, though at times we may be confronted with situations not conducive to our spiritual way of life. We must not yield. Continuously, we must keep on uttering God's name more devotedly, more and more devotedly. That's the way we have to build up our spiritual life. Building up spiritual life is very important. So, on the edifice of spiritual life, one can install the God of gods. One can really enjoy the beauty of God and enjoys the bliss. Once that is achieved, the goal is attained, and there is nothing more to be attained. He gets everything and he becomes the knower of everything. He doesn't seek anything, he gets everything. So, he becomes part and parcel. He becomes totally aware of his inseparable link with the Divine Supreme. So, constant japa leads to God realization. Page 800. The date was Tuesday, July 14th, 1884. It was a day of the car festival. Sri Ramakrishna left his bed very early in the morning. He was alone in the room, dancing and chanting the name of God. M entered and saluted the master. Other devotees arrived one by one. They saluted the master and took seats near him. Sri Ramakrishna was longing intensely for Purna. He was talking to M about him. Master asked, Did you give Purna any instruction? Yam answered, I asked him to read the life of Chaitanya. He is familiar with the incidents of his life. I told him further that you ask people to stick to the truth. Master said, how did he take it when you said about me? He is an incarnation of God. Yam answered, I said to him, come with me if you want to see a person like Chaitanya. Sri Ramakrishna asked, anything else? Yam said, also the remark of yours that when an elephant enters a small pool, there is a great splashing of water all around. Likewise, in the case of a small receptacle, emotion overflows. About his giving up of fish, Sri Ramakrishna said to him, why have you done that? Your family will make a great fuss about it. Master said, that's good. One should keep one's feelings and emotions to oneself. It was about 6:30 in the morning. M was going to bathe in the Ganges when suddenly tremors of an earthquake were felt. At once he returned to Sri Ramakrishna's room. The master stood in the drawing room. The devotees stood around him. They were talking about the earthquake. The shaking had been rather violent, and many of the devotees were frightened. Yam said, you should all have gone downstairs. Master said, such is the fate of the house under whose roof one lives, and still people are so egotistic. To Yam, he said, do you remember the great storm of the month of Ashwin? Yam said, yes, sir. I was very young at that time, 9 or 10 years old. I was alone in a room while the storm was raging, and I prayed to God. Yam was surprised and said to himself, why did the master suddenly ask me about the great storm of Ashwin? Does he know that I was alone at that time, earnestly praying to God with tears in my eyes? Does he know all this? Has he been protecting me as my Guru since my very birth? Master said, it was quite late in the day at Dakshineshwar when the storm broke, but somehow they managed to cook the meals. The trees were uprooted. You see, this is the fate of the house one lives in. But when one attains perfect knowledge, then one finds that dying and killing are one and the same. They are one and the same thing. That is to say, both are unreal. When one is dead, one has not really died. And when one has killed another, the man is not really dead. Both the Leela and the Nitya belong to the same reality. In one form, it is the absolute, and in another, the Leela. Even though the Leela is destroyed, the Nitya always exists. Water is water, whether it is still or in waves. It is the same water when the waves quiet down. Sri Ramakrishna sat in the drawing room with the devotees. Mahendra Mukherjee, Hari, the younger Narain, and many other devotees were there. Hari lived alone and studied Vedanta. He was about 23 years old and unmarried. Sri Ramakrishna was very fond of him. He wanted Hari to visit him frequently, but since Hari loved solitude, he did not often come to the master. Master said to Hari, well, I haven't seen you for a long time. You see, in one form he is the absolute, and in another he is the relative. What does Vedanta reach? Brahman alone is real, and the world illusory. Isn't that so? But as long as God keeps the ego of the devotee in a man, the relative is also real. When he completely effaces the ego, then what is remains? That cannot be described by the tongue. But as long as God keeps the ego, one must accept all. By removing the outer sheets of the plantain tree, you reach the inner pith. As long as the tree contains sheets, it also contains pith. So too, as long as it contains pith, it also contains sheets. The pith goes with the sheets, and the sheets go with the pith. In the same way, when you speak of the Nitya, it is understood that the Leela also exists. And when you speak of the Leela, it is understood that the Nitya also exists. We shall stop. Any question? Easiest path has been given by Sri Ramakrishna. Constant Japa. Easiest path. You cannot have any easier path than this. So, nobody can complain hereafter about spiritual disciplines. So, one should be really desirous of spiritual life, then only it is possible. Otherwise, it is there, people will go in their own way. But they will learn in course of time what practice they should realize, they should do, etc., etc. So one person came to talk to me about a few days back. He was a professor working in the MIT for some years, and now he has come to Chicago University. He is a professor now, a middle-aged person. Suddenly the idea has come to him, I want to do my spiritual sadhana, I want to practice meditation. So that desire has come to him suddenly. So he came, then he began to narrate his background in his boyhood days. See, that's why I always tell people, in your boyhood days, in your childhood days, whatever the good things you are made to do, that will remain you. That will be asset for you when you grow up. They come up with tremendous inspiration. And here is the example, this professor's example. He said, in his childhood days, he began to do Hanuman Chalisa. He loved to worship Hanuman, etc. And for a while he himself said he was very happy during those times. And afterwards he lost the line. And just as anybody else, he went into ordinary rut. And he passed through college, going through all sorts of things. And stepped into married life. And he said, my wife is Catholic. And I got a daughter, 12 years old. She is studying in school here, etc. But now, suddenly I felt, I just began to recollect my younger days and felt what great joy is to have Why not I revive it? So now I am really desiring to take lessons on meditation. Then I told, well, it's good. Now the aspiration has come to you. But before taking lessons, I would suggest you one or two books. First you know what is spiritual life. First you should know what is meditation. So all these ideas must be clearly understood. Then comes the practice. So in order to have preliminary knowledge, I suggest you one or two books. Please read them. He immediately said, yes, I will read. And I also told, you read them, make notes, make any questions you have to ask. Fix some appointment and come. I am ready to clarify your questions. He was very happy, and I suggested, as usual, meditation and spiritual life and Vedanta, Voice of Freedom. These two books I gave him first. First you read these two books. The Voice of Freedom, it contains yogas also. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga. They are all given nicely. And I was happy. And he said, I was here, he's here in this university, working for about, since 6 years he's here. Since 6 years he has not seen our ashram. Very near. His home also, walking distance. He himself said, I did not know this. Said. But now when the time comes, how they come to know? The man who did not know at all, how he came to know suddenly? The center is here. That means if you aspire for it, you get things. If you want, you can get it. You will explore it, you will find out, and you will come. That's the way. Any questions? Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bath our weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue. The playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, but thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere, may all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good be at all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, May all beings ever attain what is good. May the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be freed from calamity. May holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.